Welcome back to T2T Network, and this is New York Giants Corner, baby. Happy Victory Wednesday, everyone. It's actually Victory Tuesday night. We're recording this episode right now. I will be releasing it Wednesday morning, 8 a.m., so it will be Victory Wednesday then. We just beat Washington Commanders. Now I wanted to bring on a very special returning guest, and it is CGF. CGF, how's it going, my friend?
It's going pretty good. How are you doing?
Good, man. I'm telling you, life just feels, even beating a crappy, where our team's hasn't been very good right now to start off the season. We beat a crappy opponent, but they're divisional. But I'll tell you, every win just makes life feel better. Like the fall air feels crisper, it smells better. My pumpkin spice iced coffee tastes more extra pumpkin-y right now. Am I wrong?
No, I mean, I love coming on after a game. It's on a Monday or late on a Sunday, and having something positive to talk about, because so far this season through 7 games as Giants fans, we haven't really had much positivity to talk about. But, 2-5, we got some games coming up that I guess if you look on paper are winnable if you want to believe in the Giants. So the season isn't quite over yet.
No, it's not. And we're not at the trade deadline yet. We should be 3-4. We should have won that damn Buffalo game last week. And I think we both predicted the upset last time I had you on right before the start of the season. I know I had Buffalo as an upset in our favor. I think you did as well. I think we were both like, that Buffalo game, man. I think we could take that team. And we should have.
Oh, I tell you, I was watching that game and I almost went to the game because I live in Western Pennsylvania, so I'm a couple hours away. And
that'd be a cool place to see a game.
Oh, I have family up there, and I was gonna go, but then I said, I don't want to jinx them. I don't know if I'm ready to go through a table so I was like, I'll watch the game. We'll see how it goes. The Giants weren't doing so great, so I still felt, and it's funny because I do weekly NFL picks. If you guys haven't done so already, please check out CGF_sports on YouTube. I do NFL picks. I do This Week in NFL, and I also do Giants-related content. And very soon, I will be doing baseball content after the World Series. So I felt very confident that there was just something inside of me, and I said on the preview show that I felt like the Giants were going to be competitive, and I felt like they were going to win. And lo and behold, down to the last play, which you saw it, they were pulling on his jersey. It was passing in a row. But it's unfortunate we didn't win that game. It would feel a lot better right now to be 3-4. But
what a difference.
Yeah, it would have been great. But right now, you look at where we are, I think we're 2 games out from the 7th seed in the NFC, believe it or not, considering how horrible things have gotten. And we still have games against teams ahead of us. We still have games against the Green Bay Packers. We still have games against the New Orleans Saints. And
the Rams and the Raiders, I think.
Rams as well. So we have games left against the teams that are directly ahead of us for a wild card. So I don't think we have any chance of winning the division. I think you can throw out my prediction out the window when I was telling you, we're going to win 12 games. I look like an idiot.
I said 11 games, man. I said 11 games.
But season's long. It's only mid-October. Hopefully players get healthy. We're supposed to get some of our offensive linemen back this weekend. We'll get a quarterback back, possibly. We could talk about that later, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But whatever happens, I just hope we have something to cheer about until Christmas.
You know what? I'll tell you what, CGF. I feel like this team's getting its footing. It was and in the beginning of the season, and it wasn't just Daniel Jones, it was everything. I realized Daniel Jones is the lightning rod because he's the quarterback, and he's the quarterback who just got the big extension. And the quarterback is the most important position in all of sports. I totally get that. But it wasn't just him. There was a lot, like, on both sides of the ball too, and including the defense, which I wanted to start off with. By the way, and I was going to give you a chance to talk about your show, CGF. It's cool that you wove it in nicely. I didn't want you to think that I was going to forget you there. You wove it like a true professional, my friend. But I wanted to lead off with the defense first because, like I said off screen, I wanted to give them their flowers first because, man, it's 2 games in a row, and honestly, where they've been super impressive. And people can talk about Washington not being a very good team. They're still 3-3, and they still have good players. And they're playing with essentially a rookie quarterback. It's his first full year as a starter, and Sam Howell. But they do have pretty good weapons. They are a fighting team. They are 3-3, and I think they had their own upset so far. Did they beat Dallas or did they beat some other team? Maybe I think
really close with Philly. And if you look statistically, Sam Howell prior to this last game against the Giants, he had the best statistical record of any quarterback in the NFC East. He had 1,500 yards and 9 touchdowns. So coming into that game, I was worried because I didn't know which version of Sam Howell we were going to get. We were going to get a competitive Sam Howell, or we're going to get a guy like he played against Buffalo. So, lucky for us, we didn't get the competitive Sam Howell.
Yeah, I had a feeling Wink Martindale had a big part of that. In that he reminds me very much of like Bill Belichick, and that if you're a young quarterback who hasn't gone up against that defensive mind yet, you're gonna take your lumps. Yeah, it's like you see rookie quarterbacks whenever they go against Belichick, like it's almost like you could write it down as a loss. His team may not be great, but he's going to throw you for a loop. And I think Wink is the same way. But I do think that the Giants defense has really, really found its footing. Like, you look at the defense too, like the offensive side of the ball was a mess the first few weeks. You look at even like the first half of the Arizona game where the offense was playing like garbage. So was the defense. They let up 20 points in a game that we wound up winning. Thank God 31 points, Daniel Jones and the offense, tearing things up the second half of that game. But I felt I felt like, and I was seeing the team, like the defense, actually get better against San Francisco and Miami. And those teams were too much. Plus, you need your offense to put up points too. But it becomes too much. But I was seeing things. I'm like, man, I feel like this defense is actually solidifying. And especially when they put Adoree back at the outside corner, and I realized he didn't play this weekend, but he did play last week against Buffalo. When they moved him back outside where he really belongs, because he's never played the slot, and they put Cor'Dale Flott in the slot, and he's been playing very, very well. And Banks has been, pretty much lights out as a rookie, man. I can't believe we actually have a first-round cornerback that's working out for us. The linebackers, Okereke, didn't play like the Bobby Okereke we expected the first few games. Like he said, and it's totally fair, he was trying to learn the defense. And I think McFadden, for the most part, came alive with that. Thibodeau, I mean, I'm touching on everything, but that's why I wanted to lead off with the defense. I don't think what we're seeing is any type of fluke. I don't think it's just because we played against Washington, who can be a dangerous team. They also did it against Buffalo. And I also saw the feeling I was getting was that we were seeing these glimpses in San Francisco, Miami, even the Seattle game, like, quite a few of those points were given up by the offense, So anyway, and what do you feel about the defense?
Well, I think if you look at how the season's gone so far, starting the first game, obviously no one expected the first drive to turn out the way it did. Giants moved the ball really well.
Yeah.
And you have a false start, I think it was, or a penalty, you get sent back, you wind up going for a field goal gets blocked, returned for a touchdown. Defense is basically spending the entire game on the field. Everyone is in shambles.
Andrew Thomas goes down.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into the offense in a bit, but defensively, I think you made some good points. You remember with Steve Spagnuolo, the old defensive coordinator, we had those great Giants teams in 07 and 11. It took a while for the new players to get acclimated with the system. And I think that's what we're seeing now the Giants are very young. I read a stat that I think they're the second youngest team in the league right now at 25 years of age. You have
youngest or second?
Yes.
Youngest or second youngest. Yep.
Yep. And you have so many young players that are acclimating themselves to the system. And you have free agents like Okereke who came in. You have guys like Micah McFadden who are taking a larger role. You have guys like Isaiah Simmons who just came over. And you have Tay Banks who, I agree with you, has looked – I don't want to get too excited because of our history with guys like Andre Baker and he's just I don't want to get
don't
excited.
Jinx it. Yes, you had to say it. You had to say it, didn't you?
But I will say this: last game, you had Adoree Jackson on the sidelines. He did not play. The Giants' defense, their cornerbacks, all of them, they all look good, and I think that's the key because once you got good cornerback play, you got good safety play. It helps up front, and we're starting to see that. We're seeing that with Kayvon Thibodeau, who right now, if you look at the sack numbers over the last 8-9 games, it's just been incrementally going up. And even Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I don't have concerns. I did tweet about this earlier this week. Giants spent a lot of money on interior defensive lineman backup help. Guys like Ashawn Robinson, guys like Nunez Roaches. Those guys, in my mind, have not shown up. And I think the problem that the Giants have had early in the season is when the offense couldn't do anything is guys like Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence would get tired. And then you'd have to bring in these other guys, and they just aren't as good. And the Giants would get gashed for 8 to 9 yards a carry again. So to answer your question, Giants defense right now, I think is trending upwards. If people can stay healthy, I like where we're headed. And we'll talk about it later, probably briefly about the schedule coming up. But if we could just continue offensively to keep building and getting players back, long season.
That's why I still have a lot of hope for the season. I'm not saying I've got like, oh yeah, listen, we can definitely make the playoffs. I haven't written it off, but I haven't given up on the season in terms of like it overall being a positive season. You know, a lot of it depends on the offense, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But with the defense, man, like it's, you know, Wink has, you know, made it clear in no uncertain terms that his defense relies, and pretty much any modern defense, but he has said on no uncertain terms that his defense relies on good, sticky coverage in the secondary. And that's what we're getting. And so the pressure is, everything's coming together at the same time in the defense. The secondary has been playing, you know, well. It's been playing better and better, and that's been allowing the pressure to actually get to, you know, the quarterback. And he's always said that, you know, he'll scheme up the pressure. But you've got the guys like recently, the guys who you want to see get the pressure just on their own alone without any scheming. Kayvon Thibodeau, second-year player. You know, Dexter, just getting that big contract, taking up, like, it doesn't necessarily show in sexy stats like sacks, because he's an interior defensive lineman's normally not going to get all that many sacks anyway. But Dex has been, you know, kind of like quietly having a really good season, actually, eating up those 3-man, you know, he's taking like 3 guys on at a time, taking on, you know, double team, triple team. And then I think Leo has been getting better and better over the past few weeks too. And this unfortunately is happening, you know, without Aziz again. But those guys are doing their job. But Kayvon's such a key part of this defense. And he is a second year. People got to remember he's a second year player. You know, like I actually thought he had a good rookie year. He flashed a lot of things that I wanted to see. There were times when he took over games last year. There were times in his rookie year, and he got off to a slower start this year, but I think the entire defense did, just like the offense, but so did the defense. And I've just made the point, like, I did a video on the defense last week that I just think this defense is finding its footing now and really starting to see what they're capable of. And not that we can't get better, you know, in next year's draft or next year's free agency. We'll see what happens there. But man, you look at these names like Okereke and McFadden. Okereke's been a friggin' monster over the past few weeks. McFadden, who, like Kayvon, is a second-year player, and he's just looking, him and Okereke together are have been unbelievable. And it's funny because I think McFadden's got, I think, one of the highest PFF scores for linebackers this season. And I think Okereke does as well, but McFadden's is higher. But I'd argue that it's actually Okereke's been the better linebacker, and McFadden is benefiting from that. And I'm not taking anything away from McFadden. But to me, I almost see it kind of like Nix and Cruz as wide receivers. But, Cruz put up like 1,500 yards in 2011, and Nix put up 1,100 yards. But it was actually Nix that was the wide receiver one, because him, his presence there and drawing attention in the secondary would help things open up for Cruz. And I see that kind of like with McFadden, and McFadden's coming into his own, so I'm not taking anything away from him. But gosh, Okereke and McFadden, CGF, we don't just have a linebacker like a Blake Martinez or Michael Boley 2011 or an Antonio Pierce 2007, 2008. We've got linebackers, plural. We've got linebackers.
About that,
Armstead and Michael Barrow, I think, are the last time we could say linebackers.
90s.
Yeah, early 2000s, Super Bowl 35, 2000 against the Ravens. I think it's the last time we could say linebackers, plural. Unbelievable. It feels good. It feels right. It really does. How about the young secondary, man? So we were just talking about Deonte Banks. My gosh, we have linebackers, plural, and we actually have a first-round cornerback who's, and I'm very lenient with first-round cornerbacks because it's a difficult transition. Man, he's been so good. He's been as advertised. And Cor'Dale Flott, who I think it's the second week in a row started in the slot, and I was dying for this guy. I love the way he flashed in his limited appearances last year. And man, I just, this guy's got that thin Spider-Man type of like thing about him. Like these wiry guys tend to be a pain in the ass, in my opinion. He's got that about him, and he's got that stickiness to him. And right now, Flott is like, we may actually have, knock on wood, we may actually have a real slot. Any thoughts on Banks, Flott, Trey Hawkins, who played well in this past game?
You can even add in Nick McLeod. I mean,
oh my God, Nick McLeod, yes. He looked like Superman out there.
It's funny, and I don't want to get too excited because it was the Washington Commanders, but and the week before they did well against the Buffalo Bills. And as we've said, there's been a steady progression with the defense. And the thing that excites me the most is that when can you say the Giants recently have had depth at their secondary, depth at linebackers? I can't tell you the last time that I felt comfortable about those positions with this team. And looking forward, going on with the Giants, if they continue to play the way they're playing, and the likes of Banks and Hawkins and Flott, and then talk about the linebackers, McFadden and Okereke and Simmons, I mean, we're going to be good for a while,
dude.
I think we have a legitimate defense, CGF. We still have a little ways to go, but I think we have a legitimate defense. Like, I think we really have like a top 10 defense in the making. I'm not saying statistically we'll be top 10 by the end of this year because we got off to a really bad start. But man, I love the players on this team, on this defense. I love that our best players are super young. And you brought up the depth and big time flowers to McLeod, because you know what? He was getting a lot of praise very, very quietly. He kind of had to, if you consume a boatload of Giants content like we do, unless you do that, you may not have really heard the name McLeod too often in the preseason and training camp. But I remember hearing that he was getting a lot of praise from the coaching staff, and like other content creators that I respect a lot, who know more than me. Were like, who were actually at, training camp and seeing what was going on. They were praising him too, saying that, he looked surprisingly really, really good. And I knew he came over. I think he came over from Washington, if I recall correctly, as a free agent with a good reputation, with a good reputation. But I think he wound up being a lot better than people thought, at least, than informed fans thought. But I remember him getting a lot of praise coming out of camp. But yeah, man, I forgot about McLeod. But you mentioned the depth, and I'm with you, man. I love the depth. There's something that worries me though, too, as we come up to the trade deadline. What would you do? Listen, I think if the wheels completely fall off and we lose to the Jets, we lose to whoever we're playing the week after that. I forgot who it is. Are you looking to trade Adoree Jackson and Leonard Williams? Most people are.
I would say that if the Giants don't win the next 2 games, they don't get to 4 and 5, or even get to 3 and 5.
Yeah,
you have to consider starting to offload.
Oh, that's right. Because we only really got one more game. That's right. We got one more game before the trade line.
So this game, a lot hinges on how the Giants do this weekend. The Giants win and get to 3 and 5. They're 2 games under 500. We talked about the tough schedule. I talked about personally the games I think that are going to be challenging. You obviously have the trifecta of games. You have the 2 games against the Eagles and the game against Dallas. You have the game against the Jets because of their defense. You always have a tough time going down to the Superdome in Louisiana. That's, even though they're not as good as they've been in the past, that's been a chamber of horrors for the Giants. I think they've won there once in the 1990s. So you have to kind of balance it out. You have to ask yourself, are we getting healthy at the right time? Are we going to peak at the right time? Are we going to be premature of trading off some of these pieces? Because you do look at the schedule. It's not coming. The schedule, these games we got coming up. I mean, you got games against the Green Bay Packers, who just lost to the Broncos. You have the Las Vegas Raiders, who just lost to the Bears. You have Commanders again. I mean, the Patriots. You have winnable games on the schedule, and you look at the wild card. And I don't want to give false hope to anyone out there, but the Giants, if they can win this weekend, get to 3 and 5, they should be able to beat the Raiders. That's 4 and 5. You got the Cowboys, which will be a challenging game. So
totally
6. But you still have winnable games on the schedule. It is conceivable this team can get the 8 to 9 wins, which will put them in conversation. And if Philly is as good as we've seen them to be, they just traded for Kevin Byard. They're probably possibly going to consider resting players the final week of the season against the Giants. So take that for what it is. That might be another win to add to their win column. So you're talking about 9 to 10 wins, which is, I know the way things have looked so far isn't probably possible, but it is. You know,
listen,
sitting in January pissed off that you traded away Adoree and Leonard Williams when you're at 8 wins and you just missed the playoffs. I mean,
here's what worries me about that too. Like, Adoree Jackson's not old. You know, he's not. Like, he was let go. He was only on I forgot if he so he came from Tennessee. I believe he was a first round pick. I don't remember if he did his 5th year. I forgot. I could Google his age. Let's just say he's like 27 years old. He's been on the Giants for what, 3 seasons now? Last year was his 2nd season. This is his 3rd season. He's not old. I actually want to extend him. I'm not saying necessarily at the same amount. Maybe they can get him back for less. But I don't like the idea of next year, not having a proven cornerback. I don't want to have to rely on Banks and Hawkins and Flott only, because I think a better, good player too, and Adoree Jackson, it means a lot for the development of these guys. And that is depth as well. And kind of like the same thing with Leonard Williams. Like, okay, let's say we go. I'm not going to bring him back necessarily for the same contract that that Gettleman signed him to, but maybe we can bring him back for a little less. But he's still a very good player. Maybe we can get him back for another year. He's still. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say I would be more apt to trading Adoree Jackson because there's depth. The problem is you trade Leonard Williams, you have Dexter Lawrence, and you have those other guys I named earlier, Ashawn Robinson, Nunez, Roches. That's not going to do it. You're going to miss Leonard Williams. They're still thin on the defensive line. And, I could trade away Adoree Jackson. There's another name you didn't mention, Xavier McKinney is another possible trade bait that the Giants might try to get rid of. I don't know if he should or not.
I want to keep him. He's having a good season too. That's the name I forgot. Like, he was not good like the rest of everyone else in the defense. Everyone's had lost the first few games. Everyone. And like I said, they found their footing. Okereke was key. Him finding his footing within this new defense was key. And I think everything else has kind of fallen into place, especially with these young guys, McFadden, 2nd-year player, Banks, Cor'Dale Flott now being in the slot, and Adoree being able to kick
kick back to the outside. Everything's just kind of fallen in place. And I hate to see, like, I want to see these young players continue to succeed. And I think they need players like Jackson and Leonard Williams there, you know, to continue to succeed. Like, I know maybe you can give some other guys like Trey Hawkins, more snaps, but, he's also a 6th round player. And I just think like that, I think we've seen this show before where you kind of like get like, look at the guard we got rid of a few years ago, who's now on the Ravens. Zeitler. I mean, friggin'. I mean, we're gonna go just with the young guys alone. And I actually, it's something kind of like something I've always liked. The idea is just going with the young offensive lineman, because the offensive line's been bad no matter what. But I was also very worried about that. I'm like, he's still like a good veteran. Like, I don't know if we want to do that. I feel like I've seen this show before where you let these good veterans who can still play well, and Leonard Williams is not old. I'm not saying give him like a 3-year extension, but maybe you can get him extended for a year or two. And Adoree Jackson, like, you want, like, not only is like veteran leadership gone in both those areas with Jackson and Williams, they're good players. They're good players. And when those guys are gone, even with Adoree, like, there goes your depth. Like, it can go really, really quickly. And I want to see this defense continue to succeed. But I understand too that, listen, you could always trade them off, get more draft picks. And then, you can make acquisitions in the free agents, maybe get Chase Young or Montez Sweat, as a pass rusher. I still love Leonard Williams. I think, for a 3-man base front, like, there aren't too many people who can do what he does. And maybe you can get another corner who maybe won't be as pricey as Adoree Jackson, but maybe he won't be as good either. Anyway, so those are my concerns. Definitely thoughts. I keep thinking they had 2 games before the trade deadline. I'm wrong. It's this 1 game. Man, they got to win this game. They got to win this game, CGF.
Mm-hmm.
We should have won that damn Buffalo game. I think things would be so much more clear. Just won that damn Buffalo game. All right, offensive side of the ball. Only 14 points. I get it. However, the offense has looked very, very functional over the past 2 weeks. Only 14 points and only 9 points last week. And Saquon being back has really, really helped a lot. I think he looked even better this week than he did. He looked healthier this week than he did last week. Just his presence alone. You got some of these. The offensive line has looked a lot better with Pugh being there. Again, a veteran. What's his name? The tackle we just brought back from on the practice squad from Philadelphia. Tyree Phillips, right? Well, they never should let that guy go to begin with, to be honest with you. And Tyrod Taylor's, I mean, let's not sugarcoat. Tyrod Taylor's like 11 years of vet, experience as a vet, knowing how to work with. He's coming in now like, all right, man, I don't have much of an offensive line to work with, so I'm going to make my reads. I'm going to be decisive. And he's been doing it in flowers to Tyrod for stepping and really helping calm things down and solidify. It's been very, very important. I have a lot of hope for this offense when, hopefully Andrew Thomas, I've heard that the reports from like in the locker room that they expect some guys back this week. I don't think it's not Jones, but Andrew Thomas, I believe, probably. That's not official, but I think he is going to be back this week, just in time. Probably JMS, I'm assuming. But man, you get those guys back, and then with Daniel Jones. Well, first of all, before we get to Jones, we'll save him for last. Jalen Hyatt, getting his targets. We want to see him get the ball more, but I don't know. The offense it's been more functional. We want to see more points, but it's been functional. And I have high hopes. Wan'Dale Robinson, like, I feel like that's coming together too. It's behind the defense, but I feel like the offense is coming together too. And you can see it in the offense. Like, they've been dying for a chance. They've been dying for a chance, and I feel like it's coming together for them. Take it away. Your thoughts, whatever you want to talk about on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, I mean, you're right. You're absolutely correct. Last 2 weeks, the Giants' offenses look functional, something that prior, except for that second half against Arizona, the Giants' offense has not looked functional. 85 points in entirety so far this season is the bottom of the league. It's pathetic. Right now, I feel like Tyrod Taylor is the best fit. if you even go back to his days at Virginia Tech, he was always a quarterback that was able to read the pocket. If he could sense pressure, he was able to elude defenders and get out and create plays. And that's something maybe Daniel Jones, the last few weeks sitting on the sideline, he could take some things that Tyrod Taylor has been doing. Two key things. Like I just said, being able to elude pressure, get out of the pocket and create plays. And 2, take shots downfield. And we'll talk about Jones in a few minutes, and I have a lot to talk about. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. But I am encouraged what I've seen so far with the offense. I like that Waller is staying on the field. He is contributing. I love what I'm seeing from Wan'Dale Robinson. Jalen Hyatt needs to be on the field. He needs more opportunities because he is a big play moneymaker weapon that we have that could grow into that number one wide receiver we've been looking for. We have a lot of parts, which is good. I do feel like some players are not going to get the reps that they wanted to get. Paris Campbell, Sterling Shepard, but they're just right now. You need to
they're not the future
talent on the field, and I think the Giants right now offensively are functioning, and that's what you want. You get Andrew Thomas back, you get Schmitz back, you get Pugh, you kick him over to left guard. Bredesen gets moved over to his natural position of guard on the right side, and you hope Matt Pert can do well, or maybe you put Pugh on the right side.
Pert is now on the IR.
Pert went on IR, So, I mean, even Tyree Phillips, I mean, in his limited action, he spent time marinating down the pike down in Philadelphia in that training room. So he picked up some good habits. And I don't know off the top of my head that offensive line coach down there, but he is a good offensive line coach. And right now, the way I look at it, Giants, functional offense, whomever's at the helm, if it's Jones or Taylor, and I think they could score more points, but they just got to keep doing it. They got to keep making incremental steps forward.
And also, it looks like Dable is taking over the offense more. I don't think he's officially taken over the play calling. I just, I remember seeing reports that he was taking over something like he was taking over the rooms, like the rooms on the offensive side of the ball, like I guess wide receiver room, the quarterback room. He was involved a lot more in terms of, and apparently what he said too, Dable said, is that he was, when he was asked about that, he was involved in explaining, detailing what he wants on specific plays. So, which I think is a good thing. He needed to get involved because the offense was looking broken for not just ineffective, but it was looking broken for the first 5 weeks or whatever, for the most part, besides the second half of the Arizona game. But I feel like it's funny because I said on my show a few weeks ago when I think it was after the Seattle game when I think, Daniel just looked like, I think he had hit rock bottom. And I was saying on my show that I think right now he does look broken and he does look lost. And I was saying that I think he needed a game or two on the bench, and not that he was going to get it. I think him being on the bench right now, and hopefully he needs to get back. He really needs to get back. But I thought him, being on the bench for a game or two could actually help him. He needed to be out of the line of fire. And he needed Tyrod, who is an experienced vet, who's seen it all, to just watch him. And just to relax, watch him, see what's going on, take a breather from the game. And obviously when you're paid $40 million a year, you really can't do that. But he got the injury. And I'm with you, I think what you were just, saying or alluding to earlier, I think this time can be super beneficial for him. And I have not given up on Daniel at all. I think this time can be super beneficial. And he's got that level that Tyrod doesn't have. Tyrod is more consistent. Definitely. I'll give that to him. And, and he's, he can play it very, very safe, but Daniel's got a level you saw, in the second half of the Arizona game, that Tyrod, I don't think he doesn't have that. Daniel can bring you those, 31 points in a half, he can bring you what did he have? 5 or 6 comeback victories last season, Daniel, he can do that, he's got it. What's that?
He's an enigma. And I said before, he's an enigma because he has all the capability in the world.
He does
to be great. but he gets in his head, and that's what I'll bring up when I talk about this more specifically. He gets in his head, and he's his own worst enemy.
Agreed. Because it's funny because I think about if we were to look at like, all right, if I'm putting myself in Joe Shane's, shoes and Brian Dable's shoes, because those two guys are linked at the hip. I don't expect them to, as much as I love Daniel. Listen, I want to win games. I want to win Super Bowls. And I don't blame the fan base if many of them have, moved on from Daniel or, whatever, mentally if they moved on from him. I can't blame the general manager if he's like, I'm not putting all my eggs in this basket again. If there's a quarterback there that we like, whether it's the first round or the second round, that, if we like him, if we feel like he's a fit, we're going to strike and take that quarterback. I can't blame them. But if Daniel can get back soon, and I don't know when that's going to happen, if he's got to get back soon. If he does, he needs to light it up. And I'm not saying he's got to be Patrick Mahomes, but he's got to start playing like a top 12 quarterback, top 10 that I think that he is capable of doing. But I agree with you. I think he's his own worst enemy because I think, I thought he had taken a huge leap last year, and I think he did. In terms of pocket manipulation, feeling pocket pressure, make quick decisions like getting rid of the ball or running the ball if need be when the opportunity presents itself. And but he needs to start when he gets back, when he's on the field, he does need to start taking shots downfield like with Jalen Hyatt. That is what the coaches are looking for, and it's what it needs to happen because the other defenses are going to be shutting you down if you're trying to play last year's offense. It's simply not going to happen anymore. And you need to expand the field. And this is where I want to see rookie year Daniel. This is what friggin' Daniel was doing without holding on to the ball too long, like what we're seeing with Sam Howell. Sam Howell actually reminds me a lot of rookie year Daniel Jones, where the guy's kind of like a gunslinger, but he holds on to the ball too long. Hence, he takes a boatload of sacks. That's what Daniel was like his rookie year. But he does need to take shots. Like if he's seeing, like Tyrod said, he sees the safety come down, to play the box, I guess. As soon as you see that, and you see Hyatt one-on-one, just put the damn ball up. Lead him with the pass, put the damn ball up. If he gets it, he gets it. But he does have to take shots downfield. That was the whole goal of the offense this year, was to use speed with Hyatt as they're weaving him into the game, and Darius Slayton and Darren Waller too. And also and to open things up underneath with Wan'Dale, Saquon, like he can do it. I know he can do it, but he needs to get back soon. I still believe in him, but he needs to get back soon.
This is my take on Jones.
Go.
I've used this analogy on my channel. I think 30% of the fan base really likes him a lot. 30% has never liked him and wants him off the team. And there's that in between that generally goes with what faction, is trending at the moment. I feel, and this is my personal conviction, I said this before the season, Daniel Jones needed to start out strong. He needed to start out fast because I knew if this happened, the vulture would come and they would start circling. And I think you could blame this a little bit on Jones. Jones got paid a four-year, $160 million extension. There was a part of it, I feel like there's a level of complacency on Jones. And I love Daniel Jones, but I'm being honest, is that he had a sense of urgency last season. He knew that his future in the league as a starting quarterback, because if he didn't perform, if he didn't lead the Giants to the playoffs, and if he didn't win that game, he would probably be looking at a Mitch Trubisky backup role somewhere in the league. He did what he had to do to get his second contract. But then he comes in this season, and honestly, we can make all the excuses in the world. We could blame offensive line. We could blame injuries. We could blame whatever. But when it comes down to it, Daniel Jones is paid $40 million a year to be a top 15, top 10 quarterback, to lead the Giants to wins, or at least lead them to competitive games. I feel right now that if Jones doesn't play this weekend, it's going to adversely hurt his chances with this team.
Yeah.
If Tyrod Taylor goes out there and the Giants lose to the Jets and they fall to 2-6, there is a good chance that the fire sale is going to begin.
Yeah.
When you start fire selling players, that lowers the chance of probability that you're going to win games later in the season. Giants finish this year with 4 to 7 wins. They're going to draft a new quarterback, and Daniel Jones' time in New York is going to be done, regardless of how well he does. He needs to come back on Sunday. He needs to blow the Jets out. He has to have a really good game, and he needs to shut people up. He needs to actually play with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
I've seen some concerning things from Jones, and I mentioned it on my show. The last 2 weeks, he's been off to the side, kind of away from the team, just kind of not in it with the team. And that is my concern, and it's been my concern that I raised this about Jones. I do believe that there was certain people in the locker room who were upset when Jones got his extension and Saquon Barkley did not. And I believe there is a rift in the locker room with some players. It's not everybody, but I think people felt that Saquon deserved his money because of what he did to contribute. And honestly, can't argue. When Saquon's not on the field, the team's not the same. And I just think right now where the Giants are, where Daniel Jones's career is at a crossroads, he needs to get on the field. He needs to get into the doctor's office tomorrow, and he needs to tell the doctor, this is my life. This is my career. I want to be cleared. Get me on the field. Because if he doesn't get on the field, and the other side of the ball is if Tyrod goes out there and balls again and has a great game, the Giants improve to 3-5, those voices, those Boomer Esiasons, they're going to get louder and say, you know what, Daniel Jones needs to sit on the bench. So he needs to get in and he needs to perform.
Yeah, listen, I don't know if he's going to be available this game. I have a feeling he's not going to. I think he's going to be on the bench for at least one more week. And when I'm with you, though, like if he's going to save his job and save support, get back support of the Giants fans and prove that he is, a starting quarterback, worthy of, leading this team. He does need to get back soon because those opportunities, like you said, like they're going to start trading away talent and it's going to make it even harder to win. But listen, when he gets back, he needs to play like he did last year because his pocket presence was so much better last year. His pocket awareness, his maneuverability within the pocket, and getting rid of the ball too. It was all short and intermediate range throws. But he needs to take shots too. It can't be. It's like with Tyrod, I don't think. Listen, Tyrod started playing the same week that we got Justin Pugh, and I think we still had Evan Neal at tackle. But it's not like Justin Pugh is just going to step in and all of a sudden the offensive line is, especially at left tackle, all of a sudden the offensive line is gonna look serviceable. No, it's the quarterback play, and that is what good quarterback play can do. Is that it can make a less than ideal offensive line look serviceable, at least serviceable enough, for the offense to function. That is what a quarterback can do. And I was really concerned even after the Dallas game when, listen, Andrew Thomas went down. I realized that he's the key to the offensive line. He's the key cog there, big time. He's our Pro Bowl player at left tackle. It's a key position. But still, even just losing only that one player on the offensive line, I felt like Daniel needed to rise above that. And listen, I'm not saying you got to make it a competitive game, but at least you got to put up points. And it wasn't just on him. He had some drops and stuff like that. But still, the offense wasn't functional. We did see, listen, man, we saw what Daniel Jones reminded of what he can be. And his ceiling is definitely much higher than Tyrod Taylor's in the second half of the Arizona game. He is capable of doing that. We've seen that. You mentioned, what was it? A few years ago, you mentioned New Orleans being our usual house of horrors, which it normally is. What was it? A few years ago, I think the second year of the Joe Judge regime, I believe, when he went down there. Well, they went down there and they wound up surprisingly having yet another come from behind victory. It was a beautiful game by Daniel. And
I think it was overtime with the touchdown by Barkley at the end. I think it was either late in the game or overtime.
Yeah. And it was a beautiful game. Daniel played like a flawless game, and that's what he's capable of. But here's the thing too, is like with Daniel though, it's like whenever you think he's done, whenever you think he's out, whenever you think, that's it, fate is done with him, he seems to, just like last season, he seems to, just bring it together. It's almost like he needs to play from behind and everything, not just like in a game, but also like in his career. Like he needs to play from behind. He needs everyone to be against him, and then he just kicks everyone's ass.
This is sacrilegious. Wearing Giant stuff, talking about the great incomparable Rocky Balboa, but I always kind of relate this to Rocky 3. Rocky 2, Rocky beat Apollo Creed, became world heavyweight championship. Rocky 3, he beats Thunderlips, but then he fights all these like powder puff guys, and then he faces Clubber Lang and gets his butt kicked. So it's kind of like with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones needs to be behind. You're right. He needs to be like up against a wall for that best side of him to come out, and maybe that's what we're going to see.
Yeah, he needs to listen. It's funny because I'll pretty much end it with here. We'll end it with Daniel Jones, but we always play from behind with him. Like he's never good, or not. It's not he, but the offense with him at the helm has never been good at scoring first. Never. And I do think part of that is with him. It's almost like he's got to play from behind to get going, and that's not a good thing. Don't get me wrong, it's not a good thing. But God, what was the other thing I wanted? I know I'm brain farting on Daniel, but listen, I believe in the dude, but he's got to get back, and if not this week, he must get back next week, or I think it's done. Like I think they will be looking to draft a quarterback, in the first or second round, and I won't blame them at all. I won't blame them at all. But he needs to get back. And also too, like you owe it to the team, you owe it to the players who you're trying to develop, who go to work every single day to win games. It stinks because. And that means if you have to play Tyrod because he's better, then you do what you got to do. I want to win games. I want the players to feel good. I want them to look forward to playing these games. And but it stinks though, because it also worries me that, listen, there's no guarantee when you draft a quarterback, even if it's high in the first round, that the dude's he's gonna hit. That you never know. There are plenty of first round busts at the quarterback position. And this is what I was going to say about Daniel, was that it's like everything you want in a quarterback, he's got it. Like everything you'd want in a quarterback you're going to draft, including the mobility, he's got it. The thing is the decision making. I should say the processing. Exactly. And like you said, CGF, he's his own worst enemy. And listen, maybe he just doesn't have it, at that type of level, where you're going to be a franchise quarterback.
That's the thing that pains me, because
it does. It pains me too.
After 19, I did a lot of research on Jones. I saw all those. I saw all those gifts. I saw those physical gifts. I saw that he elevated a really bad Duke team. He was. I felt that he had endless chance to grow.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when and I really want to be wrong about this, I think he's that little thing when things are falling apart, when the sky's falling, the ability, and I've seen it at times in those comeback wins when he's put up,
but not enough
numbers that nobody else has done, like he did in the Arizona game. He needs to do that all the time. He needs to stop thinking and start playing. It's the old when I played sports, I played lacrosse, I played basketball, I played flag football in Chicago Rec League. You don't think, you use your talent and you play. And if Daniel Jones can do that when he gets back, stops thinking, just plays to his talent, he'll be fine. But I don't know if he can do that. And
I'll leave off with this, that I think he's got, like I said, the ability, when you're thinking about what I want in a quarterback that I'm going to draft, he's got it, except for right here, which is the most important thing of all. But he's got everything else. And man, it's like, damn it, Daniel. It's like, I want him to come back and just, and succeed, but we'll see what happens. But he, like he can throw. People said he can't throw a deep ball. He actually throws a really beautiful deep ball. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, who've been dumping all over Daniel Jones, even those who were like agnostic, for a while, at least for this year. We're like, oh, Daniel doesn't, throwing a Tyrod, beautiful Tyrod throw to Jalen Hyatt. Oh, Daniel doesn't throw something like that. Yes, he has. Don't be stupid. You've all seen it. Yes, he has. Don't be stupid. He is an accurate quarterback. He hasn't been this year, but he has been an accurate quarterback. He does use his legs. I've seen him go through progressions. He does need to do a better job of going through progressions, but I hope he's using this time wisely on the bench, being injured right now, to set himself straight, because I think he's got all the friggin' tools. And I'm really pulling, like, I've never rooted harder for anyone in a Giants uniform in my life than Daniel Jones. I'm still rooting for him, but time's run. It's running out.
Mm-hmm.
But CGF, any predictions for the upcoming Giants Jets game?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Here's the deal.
I'm gonna say 13-10 Giants.
I think I could see it being a low-scoring game. The big key to this game is if this defense can continue to play the way it's been playing, and
I think so.
they can get the bad Zach Wilson to show up. Because if you can do that and you can pressure Zach Wilson, I think the Giants can win this game, get to 3-5, and perhaps save their season.
I think the difference in this game is going to be Tyrod Taylor. Like Zach Wilson, has it really been? There's really been like a really bad Zach Wilson. There's been like a, all right, he didn't kill us, Zach Wilson. And like I look at his numbers. I'm like, this guy hasn't had like ever since he took over for Aaron Rodgers. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a game that I missed, but it's not like this dude put up monster numbers. I think he put up like, it was last week, maybe he was like put up like 171 yards and maybe it was a touchdown. I don't think so. And like no interceptions, but it wasn't like anything to write home about. I'm like, I think this defense is I think the difference in this game, because they're both good defenses. The Jets probably have a somewhat better defense, but I think the Giants defense has really found its footing. I'll give you in a second. But I think the difference is going to be Tyrod, not making any type of stupid mistakes. Go ahead.
This is how you win the game. You box out Garrett Wilson. You make sure he's eliminated. You put Tay Banks on him, and you put the guys in the box, and you shut down Breece Hall. And you force Zach Wilson to beat you. That's how, if I'm the defensive coordinator, that's how I game plan. Force Zach Wilson to beat you, and I think you have a good chance of winning.
Yeah, I'm with you. So do you have a prediction?
Yeah, I think kind of around what you're saying. I'm going to go Giants 18. Jets
going crazy now.
Jets 14. I think the Jets, I respect them very much. I think their defense is really good.
It is very good.
I just worry about Tyrod. We've seen good Tyrod for 2 weeks. He's bound to have some spots. I think he's a pro. I think he has experience, but this is a good defense. So whomever quarterbacks on Sunday, if it's Tyrod or if Daniel Jones quarterbacks, I hope we have a good game and I hope we win, because 3-5 is a lot better than 2-6.
Oh my God, yeah. And then we'll be able to say, if we do beat the Jets, I'll be able to say we should be 4-4. We should have beaten Buffalo. But at least 3-5 is a lot better than 2-6. So all right, man. Yeah. So we're both predicting a win. I feel strongly that the Giants are going to win this game. Listen, if we're Aaron Rodgers versus Daniel Jones, even if Daniel Jones were, like last year's Daniel Jones, I would have picked the Jets, because I actually, when they got Aaron Rodgers, I'm like, I think that the Jets are going to the Super Bowl, actually. And I think they legitimately could have if Aaron Rodgers stayed healthy. But with Zach Wilson being at the helm, I don't know. I've heard, I still see this guy. I'm like, all right, he's not, horrible Zach Wilson from last year, but I'm not seeing anything. I'm like, wow, anything to be afraid of with Zach Wilson. And also, I'm going to go with Tyrod in this one, or if Daniel's back, but I think it's going to be Tyrod. I'm going to go with Tyrod, with the vet quarterback. I think he's going to be the difference maker in terms of not making any mistakes. Maybe he'll get a sack, but I think maybe he'll get sacked, but I don't think he's going to be making any stupid mistakes. But all right, man, listen, we're at like 53 minutes. I lied to CGF again and said, CGF, we'll only be 30 minutes. And he was kind enough to say later on back, before we start recording, hey man, if we need to go past 30 minutes, Saul could, don't worry about it. And I'm like, no, don't worry about it, CGF. We'll keep it to like 35 minutes. Or I lied. I suckered you on here.
Liar.
So I know, liar. But no, man, I honestly, I did mean to keep it to like 30 or 35 minutes, but I do love, talking, chewing Giants football with you. It's always a good time. So time goes fast.
Sure.
It does.
Totally does. Especially about this team. There's so much to talk about.
So much to talk about. But all right, man, I think we'll be sending out happy tweets after the game on Sunday. I really do. But guys, this is Joe from New York Giants Corner, and we got CGF over here wishing you a happy victory Sunday coming up against our crosstown rivals and the Jets. We're out of here, and I'm just going to sign off with my cool outro video, and we'll catch everyone soon. Take care.